Welcome back to Easily Explained, where today we will be talking about population growth. So let's get started. Like we said in the last video, there's a lot more to population growth and a lot of different factors that we didn't go over in our characteristics of populations video. So we are going to be going over all of those in this video. So as you recall, the main definition of population growth is basically the increase or decrease of the number of individuals in the population size. Basically, the change in population size. So now that we know the main definition of population growth, let's go back to the factors of population growth. In the last video, we talked about very generally the 4 factors that we're going to be going over in more detail today: birth rate and death rate, and immigration rate versus emigration rate. So let's go into what those specific factors mean. The first factor that we'll be going over is the birth rate. The birth rate is defined as the number of births in a population in a certain number of time. It is also the main way that individuals join the population, and so birth rate is usually the main way or the main reason why the population growth is increasing. And then we have the opposite of that, the death rate. And as you can probably tell from the name itself and just the fact that the definition of birth rate is the number of births in a certain amount of time, the definition of death rate would be the number of deaths in a certain amount of time. And again, with the whole opposite scenario, death rate is the main way that individuals leave the population, just as birth rate is the main way individuals join the population. That means that if the population growth is declining, the population size is decreasing, it is likely that death rate is the main cause, although as we will keep going on with the factors, there are 2 other factors we're going to talk about, but this is the main way that individuals leave the population in usual circumstances. So when we talk about population growth, when we talk about growth rate being positive, so to speak, it is basically increasing. Whereas if we're saying it's negative, that means that the population is decreasing. That means that more individuals of a population are dying than those that are being born. Let's go over the population statement for the birth rate and death rate. So in our statement, we're saying that if B is greater than D, then the population increases. So basically, if the birth rate is greater than the death rate, then the population is going to increase. So let's break that down a little bit. Birth rate is greater than death rate. That means more individuals are being born than those that are dying. There's less death than birth. So that means our growth rate is positive. And the population is increasing because obviously there's more individuals that are being born than those that are dying. That means that the population is increasing. The growth rate is positive. Let's switch up the hypothesis now. Now we're saying that if B is less than D, then the population decreases. So this means that our death rate is greater than our birth rate, or our birth rate is less than our death rate. And if we were to expand on this more, this means that more individuals are dying than those who are being born. More deaths than births. And in this case, our population growth would be negative because the population is decreasing. There's more death, and the birth rate cannot keep up with it. So when we talk about constant growth, that means birth rate and death rate are the same. The number of individuals that are dying are being replaced by the number of individuals that are being born. But as soon as we change one, make the birth rate go up or make the death rate go up, that's when we see these changes in the population size. Now let's move on to the third factor. Immigration is the movement of individuals into an area. And there's many different reasons that immigration can increase, both in animals or even in humans, if we think about it. Animals could be searching for mates or food, or they could be brought by humans into a new territory. And that's why they immigrated into the area. And obviously, since they're moving into that area, they're adding to the population growth, and that's causing the population to grow. So when we talk about emigration, it should be easy from the similarity of the words to understand that emigration is going to be the opposite of immigration. It's the movement of individuals out of an area instead of into the area. Emigration can also occur for a variety of reasons. Again, they might want to find mates, or they have to establish a new territory. The current territory is not working for them, or a shortage of food could also be a reason why a species choose to emigrate out of the area. Remember the difference, emigrate versus immigrate, and that's why it's important to enunciate the words and make sure you know the difference. Emigrate out, immigrate in. You can think of that to help you. The I of immigration should go with I of in the population. Emigration would be out of the population. So moving on to our population statement, if the immigration rate is larger, it's higher than the emigration rate, then the population is going to increase because there are more individuals that are moving into the area. So in that same way, if the emigration rate, the movement of individuals out of an area, is larger than the immigration rate, the movement of individuals into an area, then the population size is going to decrease because there's more individuals leaving the area. So then when we talk about both the birth rate, death rate, and immigration and emigration together, and let's look at a combined population statement. All right, now let's look at the simple one first. If the birth rate plus the immigration rate is greater than the death rate plus the emigration rate, then the population is definitely going to increase because both of the factors that cause the population growth are added together, and both of the factors that led to a negative population growth is less than it. So that means the population is definitely going to increase. So in the same way, if B plus I is less than D plus E, then the population size decreases because that one is also a little bit more simple, since the birth rate and immigration rate both are the factors that contribute to population increasing. And then we get to the more complicated ones. What if the birth rate is higher than the death rate, but the immigration rate is less than the emigration rate? Or what if the birth rate is less than the death rate, but the immigration rate is higher than the emigration rate? Well, that depends on exactly how many or how much of greater change it is. For example, if the birth rate was 10, for example, hypothetical situation, and the death rate was 2, and emigration was 1 while immigration was 0, that means that the population would still increase because the margin that B is greater than D is a lot larger, and it doesn't have that much of an impact. The second part of it doesn't have a much of an impact. So that's what I'm saying. It gets a little bit complicated when you dive deeper into it, because now it really depends on how much greater the birth rate is than the death rate, or vice versa, or immigration and vice versa. Congratulations, you are now an expert at the factors of population growth. If this video helped, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. In the next video, we're going to be talking about 2 different types of population growth. So we'll see you guys next time. Bye!